I was never supposed to hear that conversation, but I did, and that night changed everything. It started around 11:43 p.m. on a Thursday. I had just pulled into the driveway after a long business dinner with investors from Chicago. My flight had been delayed, so I got back hours later than expected. The house was dark except for the faint amber glow flickering through the curtains of our upstairs bedroom. I didn't walk in through the front door. Something told me not to. Maybe it was the extra car in the driveway, one I didn't recognize, a sleek, black Audi with tinted windows and a vanity plate that read Greitz. Maybe it was instinct. Or maybe I was just tired of ignoring the nagging feeling in my gut every time I kissed my wife goodbye, and she turned her face just a little too late. So I crept around back. Quietly, I stepped over the garden hose I hadn't gotten around to rolling up and eased the sliding glass door open just enough to slip inside. Our dog didn't bark. He was locked in the laundry room. That was clue number 2. I made my way through the kitchen, past the photos on the fridge, our wedding in Cabo, our daughter Mia's college graduation, and paused at the foot of the stairs. That's when I heard it. Voices. 2 of them. One was definitely hers. My wife, Sarah. And the other, God help me, was my daughter. She's not going to find out, Mia whispered. She might, Sarah said, giggling like a damn schoolgirl. He's not as dumb as he looks. But even if he does, I don't care anymore. I need this. I deserve this. I froze. I couldn't move. My brain was trying to catch up. My ears rang. My vision tunneled. I leaned against the wall just to stay on my feet. You've been miserable with him for years, Mia went on, her voice calm. Cool. Like this was some casual chat about a new dress or a dinner recipe. You were what? 19 when you got married? He locked you into this boring life too young. You're finally living. God, I know, Sarah moaned. And Adam? He's just unreal. The way he touched me in that hotel room. I heard the sound of the bedsheets shifting. Then something hit the floor, probably her robe. I don't know how long I stood there. Maybe a minute. Maybe 10. All I remember was the sound of my heartbeat smashing against my ribcage and the taste of iron in my mouth from biting my tongue so hard. My daughter. My flesh and blood. She was encouraging my wife to cheat on me. And Sarah, my wife, was giggling upstairs with a man in my house. In my bed. While I stood below, listening like some ghost trapped in a nightmare. I wanted to storm in. Flip the bed. Drag them both out by the hair. But I didn't. Not that night. That night, I turned around, walked back through the sliding glass door, and drove off into the darkness. Not because I was weak, but because I needed time. I needed clarity. And more than anything, I needed a plan. Because now, this wasn't just betrayal. It was war. I didn't sleep that night. I drove for hours with no destination, just the hum of the engine and my thoughts gnawing at my brain like termites in rotten wood. I kept seeing their faces. Sarah's smirk. Mia's cold encouragement. I had raised that girl. Held her when she scraped her knees. Cheered for her at soccer games. Paid her tuition. And now she was playing wingman to the woman who used to swear she'd love me until death. The sun rose before I even realized I had crossed the state line. I stopped at a gas station in Indiana, splashed water on my face in the dirty restroom, and stared at the stranger in the mirror. Bloodshot eyes. Stubble I hadn't planned to grow. Rage pulsing just beneath the surface like magma waiting to blow. By the time I made it back home that evening, the Audi was gone. So was Sarah. Mia, on the other hand, was in the kitchen, sipping orange juice like nothing had happened. She looked up and smiled when I walked in, like I hadn't just overheard her helping to destroy my marriage. You're back, she said casually. I looked at her for a long second. She didn't flinch. Where's your mom? I asked. Out, she shrugged. Said she's having dinner with Taylor. You know, girl time. I didn't answer. Just walked over to the fridge, pulled out a beer, and leaned against the counter, watching her. Mia looked up from her phone, that same smug smile twitching on her lips. You okay, Dad? That word stung. She still called me Dad, like she hadn't just gutted me and danced in the blood. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the bottle at the wall and demand an explanation. But I didn't. Not yet. Instead, I said, yeah, just tired. Long drive. That night, I pretended to fall asleep on the couch. Waited until the house went quiet. And then I went upstairs. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, maybe a text, a receipt, something stupid and sloppy. But what I found was worse. Sarah's iPad was still connected to her cloud, and she had forgotten to sign out of messages. What I saw there nearly made me vomit. Photos. Of her, and him in a hotel room. Naked, tangled together like goddamn animals. A video. Yes, a damn video. Of her whispering his name, moaning it into his ear like it was sacred scripture. My wife, my Sarah, telling a man named Adam how stiff he was making her, how she'd never felt so full. My fingers trembled on the screen. I read their chat history. She had been seeing him for months, telling him she wanted to leave me, that she felt trapped in a gray, dead marriage, that she'd lost years with me and wanted to be alive again. And Mia? Oh, she was in on it all. She even helped Sarah sneak away once when I thought she was visiting her friend Chloe. Don't worry, Mom, Mia had written. I'll cover for you. Dad's blind. He doesn't see anything. The knife twisted. I went outside, sat on the porch, and stared into the night, trying to feel something other than the scorching betrayal that had swallowed me whole. My entire life had become some kind of twisted joke, and the punchline was delivered by the two women I had loved more than anything. I couldn't confront them yet. Not when I was shaking like this. Not when my thoughts were dark and loud and violent. But soon. I wasn't just going to react. I was going to ruin them. Because I had already decided something in those midnight hours between discovery and despair. I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't beg. I wouldn't fall apart. No, I was going to be the storm. And they had no idea it was coming. The next morning felt like theater. I made coffee. Poured Sarah her usual mug, the one with the little gold heart on it that I bought for our 10th anniversary. I even kissed her cheek when she came downstairs in her robe. She smiled, said, "Good morning," like her mouth hadn't just been on another man's body a day before. She played the doting wife. Talked about groceries, about how the garbage disposal was acting up again. She made scrambled eggs. Mia joined us at the table, acting like the perfect little daughter. She was wearing one of Sarah's sweaters, sipping her smoothie like she hadn't sold me out. I sat there watching them like I was behind glass. I don't think either of them noticed I barely touched my food. My jaw was too tight to chew. All I could do was listen to the small talk and catalog every fake laugh, every lie sliding casually off their tongues. After breakfast, Sarah said she had to run errands. She left without a kiss this time. Just grabbed her purse and keys and walked out like she wasn't walking into the arms of the man who had been taking what was mine. I waited 30 minutes. Then I followed her. She drove to a hotel just off I-90, a rundown place with peeling blue paint and a flickering no vacancy sign. I parked across the street, behind a row of bushes, and waited with the engine off. 10 minutes later, a silver truck pulled in. He got out. Adam. Tall. Fit. Cocky walk. Aviator sunglasses and some designer jacket that screamed, "I think I'm untouchable." Sarah ran to him like a teenager. He grabbed her waist. She leaned in and whispered something that made him laugh. Then they disappeared into room 206. I stayed another 15 minutes. Long enough to feel the rage boil over again. Then I drove off before I did something reckless. But I had enough now. Enough to destroy her. That night, I copied every message. Every photo. Every video. I made a folder on a flash drive, labeled it "For Your Lawyer," and tucked it into my safe. I wasn't going to let her walk away from this clean. Not after what she'd done. Not after what they had done. And then I got an idea. Something cold. Something calculated. The kind of idea you only have when you've been betrayed so deep it changes your chemistry. I was going to flip the script. Make her doubt everything. Make her feel crazy. Make her world as unstable as she made mine. The next day, I started planting small seeds. I complimented her more than usual. Brought home flowers. Told her I wanted to reignite the spark. At first, she looked suspicious. Then flattered. She started acting warm again, cuddling on the couch, saying she was glad we were trying. I could see the wheels turning in her head. She thought she had won. Thought she could keep her side thing going while I was desperate to fix things. Mia, on the other hand, was harder to fake around. Every time I looked at her, I remembered the messages. The smug tone. The betrayal. She was still my daughter. My blood. But there was a rot in her I couldn't ignore anymore. I started locking my office door. Changing my passwords. Keeping everything on an encrypted drive. I didn't trust either of them. I couldn't. One night, around 1 a.m., I heard her sneak out. She thought I was asleep. She thought I hadn't noticed the soft click of the front door or the car pulling out of the driveway. But I was awake. Wide awake. I got dressed. Grabbed the burner phone I'd bought the day before. I had already slipped a tracker in her purse earlier that week. I checked the app. Hotel 206 again. Of course. This time I didn't follow. This time, I made a call. Not to Adam. Not to Sarah. But to a private investigator I knew from years back. A guy who owed me a favor. I gave him the address. Told him to get everything. Photos. Plates. Timelines. I wanted a portfolio that would make a judge's jaw drop. Because when I was done with Sarah and Mia, they weren't just going to lose me. They were going to lose everything. 3 days later, the PI called. I got what you asked for, he said. More than enough. He emailed over a zip file. I waited until I was alone in my office, door locked, blinds drawn. My hands trembled as I opened the folder. There they were, clear, high-resolution shots of Sarah and Adam entering that same grimy motel room, hand in hand. A timestamp on every frame. One photo showed them standing in the parking lot, her leaning in, whispering something with that smile I used to think was mine. Another showed them exiting 2 hours later, her lipstick smudged, his shirt untucked. And the best one? A video from a hidden dash cam the PI had planted the night before, capturing them through the window. Not the full act, but enough. Enough to show her on his lap, straddling him, shirt off, laughing like she didn't have a ring on her finger. I watched it all in silence. No tears. No screams. Just a cold, hollow calm settling in my chest like winter. Later that night, I cooked dinner. Lasagna, her favorite. Mia was out with friends, or so she said. Probably meeting some boy she hadn't told me about. I lit candles, poured wine, set the table like we were on a damn anniversary date. When Sarah walked in, she froze. What's all this? I smiled. Just wanted to do something nice. She hesitated, then slowly relaxed. Sat down, took a sip of the wine I'd poured her. She complimented the sauce. Told me she loved how thoughtful I was being lately. Said she felt close again. I almost laughed. Instead, I reached across the table, took her hand, and said, "Do you ever think about honesty, Sarah?" She blinked. What do you mean? Just truth. How much it matters in a marriage. A beat of silence. Then her smile twitched. Of course. What? I let go of her hand, stood up, and walked over to the side table, pulled out a thin folder, and dropped it in front of her plate. She looked down, flipped it open. The first page was a printed photo, her and Adam walking into the motel, time-stamped and labeled. She stopped chewing, eyes frozen on the image, then flipped to the next page. Another photo, then another, then a still from the dashcam video. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. I sat back down and looked at her. Go ahead. Explain it. She pushed the folder away. This isn't what it looks like. Don't, I said quietly. Don't insult me by pretending. Tears welled up in her eyes. Real or fake, I didn't care anymore. I didn't mean for this to happen. Really? Because it seems like you meant it for a while now. She stood, backing away from the table. You've been spying on me? I leaned in. No, Sarah. I've been watching you betray everything we built. And your daughter, our daughter, helped you. She froze. You think I didn't know? I hissed. I heard you. That night. Upstairs. You were laughing. Mia was encouraging you. She said I was blind. You two really thought I'd never see it, huh? She collapsed into the chair, hands shaking. I didn't want to hurt you. Then why did you do it? I was lonely, she snapped. You were always working. Always busy. I needed something. I needed to feel wanted. I stood again, fury boiling just beneath my skin. So you let our daughter cheer you on while you spread your legs for some clown in a Motel 6? Don't talk to me like that, she shrieked. I laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. More like something breaking. You don't get to cry now, Sarah. You don't get to play the victim. She looked up at me, mascara streaking down her cheeks. What are you going to do? I leaned in, my voice ice. I'm going to end this marriage. And I'm going to make sure when I walk away, you and Mia are left with the pieces. She gasped. You wouldn't. I already have. She ran upstairs crying. I let her go. I sat back down and finished my wine. Slowly, calmly. I wasn't done yet. Because Mia didn't know what was coming. And I was saving the best for her. Mia came home around midnight. I was still awake, sitting in the dark living room, the only light coming from the soft glow of the TV. Not watching, just waiting. Her footsteps were light, like she was trying not to wake anyone up. But I called out anyway. Have fun tonight. She jumped. Dad? You scared me. I didn't respond. Just stared at her as she stepped into the room, still wearing that oversized hoodie she always borrowed from Sarah. I could see the nervous flicker in her eyes as she walked closer. You okay? I nodded slowly. Yeah, I'm good. Just had a long talk with your mom. She stiffened. Oh, I let the silence hang there. Just long enough for her to squirm. She told me everything. I said finally. And by everything, I mean what you already know. The man, the motel, the lies. Mia looked away. I didn't mean to hurt you. I almost laughed. Didn't you? Because from what I heard, you were coaching her through it like a personal trainer. It wasn't like that, she mumbled. I was just trying to help her. She was unhappy. And you thought the best solution was to help her cheat on me? She was going crazy, Dad. She felt trapped. I stood up, and for the first time in my life, I saw fear in her eyes. Not because I yelled. I didn't. My voice was dead calm, and that scared her more. She could have talked to me. We could have gone to therapy, taken a break. But you? I pointed at her. You gave her permission to destroy me. My own daughter. I didn't know it would get that far. She filmed it, Mia. She let him touch her in ways I can't even erase from my mind. And she filmed it. And you told her to do it. You made her feel like it was okay. She was crying now, arms crossed tight, rocking slightly like she was trying to shrink into herself. I was trying to protect her, she whispered. Then who the hell was protecting me? She didn't answer. I walked over to the cabinet, opened it, and pulled out a thick envelope, tossed it on the table in front of her. She stared at it through tear-filled eyes. What's that? Copies, I said, of the videos, the photos, the messages. One of them's going to your school's ethics committee. The other's going to your mom's parents. They always thought I was the bad guy. Wait until they see who she really is. She took a step back. You're serious. Oh, I'm more than serious. You think betrayal doesn't have consequences? I'm not the type to scream and smash things, Mia. I'm the type that moves in silence and leaves nothing behind. You're ruining everything. No, I said. You ruined everything. I'm just cleaning up the mess. She ran upstairs crying. Good. I didn't follow. That night, I slept in the guest room, locked the door, left my phone on silent. My mind wasn't racing anymore. It was quiet, clear, focused. The next morning, Sarah was already downstairs. Her eyes were puffy. She had clearly been crying all night. She didn't say anything. Neither did I. I just handed her an envelope and told her to open it after I left. Inside was a copy of the divorce papers, a note, and a flash drive. The note was simple. You lied. You cheated. You broke everything. This is me choosing peace. I left, drove straight to my lawyer's office. We filed that afternoon. By evening, I was in a small rented apartment downtown. Nothing fancy, just enough for me and my silence. I poured myself a drink, sat on the floor, and breathed, because for the first time in months, maybe years, I wasn't guessing anymore. I knew, and that was power. The next few days passed like smoke, fast, strange, and impossible to hold on to. Sarah called me 17 times. I didn't answer a single one. Her texts were all over the place. First denial, then begging, then rage. We can fix this. It was a mistake. You're ruining our family. Then, you'll regret this. No, Sarah. I regret trusting you. Mia didn't reach out. Not even once. Maybe she was scared. Maybe she finally understood what she'd done. Or maybe, like her mother, she was waiting for the storm to pass so she could crawl out and pretend nothing happened. But the storm wasn't passing. It was only just beginning. On Thursday, I met with our accountant. I'd frozen all joint accounts 2 days prior. I wasn't about to fund Sarah's little hotel adventures while I bled. She hadn't noticed yet, figured she was still using the emergency card I forgot to deactivate. I didn't forget. I was just waiting for the right moment. Then I had my lawyer send the divorce papers directly to her office, not the house. I wanted it to sting. I wanted her to feel the humiliation of opening that thick envelope at her desk, surrounded by the fake coworkers she probably gossiped with about her boring husband. Friday, I went back to the house. Not to talk, to collect. I still owned it, legally, and I wasn't about to let her start redecorating it like I was some ghost. When I walked in, she was there, on the couch, makeup smudged, hair a mess, like she hadn't slept in days. You're not supposed to just show up like this, she said. I didn't answer, just walked past her, straight to the study, grabbed my boxes, and started filling them. Can we just talk? She tried again. I said nothing. She followed me. Look, I know what I did was wrong. But Mia, she didn't understand the weight of it. She was trying to help me cope. I turned and stared at her. Really stared. Cope? By cheering you on while you let another man fold you up in motel sheets. She flinched. You don't know what it was like. You were always gone, always distracted. You made me feel invisible. I nodded slowly. So you fixed it by making me feel worthless. I never wanted to hurt you, she whispered. You did anyway. She wiped her face and reached for my arm. I stepped back. You lost that right, I said. And Mia, she's not a child anymore. She knew what she was doing. You raised her to lie like you. You both poisoned everything. Her expression twisted into something else, something cold. She's still your daughter. No, I said. She's your daughter. The one who laughed while you betrayed me. The one who called me blind while she held the door open for your affair. She didn't say anything after that. I packed in silence. Took my watches, my grandfather's vinyl collection, a few framed photos that didn't have her face in them. On the way out, I stopped in the doorway. You'll hear from the court soon. I'm not fighting over custody. She's old enough to choose where she wants to stay. I don't need the house. I don't need the car. All I want is for you to live with the truth. And what truth is that? She asked bitterly. That everything you touched, you ruined. I left without another word. That night, I went to a bar I used to love in college. Ordered a bourbon. Sat alone at the far end. Watched couples laugh, flirt, touch hands across the table. And it hit me, somewhere in that mess of shattered trust and broken glass, I had forgotten what peace felt like. I had been drowning for years, and I didn't even know it until I finally came up for air. For the first time in a long time, I wasn't anyone's husband. I wasn't anyone's fool. I was just me, and I liked the sound of that. A week passed. I didn't answer the door. I didn't return calls. My phone stayed on silent, buried under a pillow, like the old version of me buried under months, years of lies. I walked every morning before the city woke up, drank black coffee, read books I never had time for. I slept better, deeper. No one asking where I was, who I was with, what time I'd be home. No fake smiles. No tension clinging to the air like humidity. On the 8th day, I saw her again, by accident. I was in line at the pharmacy, picking up some painkillers for an old shoulder injury, when she walked in. Sarah, in leggings, sunglasses on her head, clutching her phone like a lifeline. She hadn't seen me. I had a second, just 1 second, to walk out before she did. I didn't take it. She turned and froze. Her expression shifted instantly. Panic, then shame, then something bitter behind her eyes. Hey, she said, stepping closer like nothing had happened. I didn't speak. She dropped her voice. Can we talk? About what? I asked calmly. About us. There is no us. She winced, like I'd slapped her. You don't mean that. I meant it the second you opened your legs for Adam. Her face burned. She glanced around to see if anyone heard. She looked smaller somehow, less composed. The confident woman who once paraded her charm like perfume was now just wreckage. I made a mistake, she said quietly. I was lost. No, I said. You were selfish. I turned away, let her stand there in the awkward silence, unsure of what to do. I finished paying, took my bag, and walked out without looking back. By the time I reached my car, I saw Mia sitting on the hood, just sitting there. I stopped mid-step. She looked up, trying to smile. It was weak, forced. The same look she used to give me when she came home with a bad grade in high school. I figured I'd find you here, she said. Why? I asked. To apologize or to lie again? Her smile dropped. To talk. That's all. I leaned on the side of the car, arms crossed. Say what you need to say. She hesitated. I was wrong. I shouldn't have encouraged Mom. I thought I was helping her escape something toxic, but I didn't realize how much I was hurting you. I nodded slowly. And you didn't stop. Not once. Not when you saw her slipping away. Not when you saw me breaking. Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't know how to fix it. Maybe you can't. I want to, she said. I want to try. I sighed and looked out across the parking lot. You're my daughter. That doesn't go away. But right now, I don't trust you. I don't know you. You sided with her while she tore everything down. She stepped off the hood. I don't expect you to forgive me. I just wanted you to know I regret it. I hope you do, I said. Because you helped destroy something I built with my whole life. She nodded, wiped her face, then walked away. I watched her go. No anger left. Just a quiet, aching numbness. That night, I went home and opened a folder I hadn't touched in years. Old letters, photos, memories from the early days of the marriage. Notes Sarah had written on napkins. Birthday cards for Mia when she still thought I was her hero. I didn't cry. I didn't break. I burned them. One by one, I watched the pages curl and blacken in the sink. smoke rising from inked words that meant nothing now. When it was done, I poured a drink, opened the window, and let the cold air in. Some endings don't need applause. They just need silence. And I was finally okay with that. 2 months later, the papers were finalized. The court moved quickly, thanks to the file I handed them. Photos, videos, witness reports, even financial records showing her little getaways with Adam. Some of them paid for using our shared accounts. The judge didn't look at her with pity, just disappointment. She cried in the courtroom, of course. Played the role. Wore beige, kept her makeup soft, like that could somehow undo what she did. It didn't. The house went to me. She didn't fight it. I gave it up anyway. Sold it a week after the ruling. I didn't want those walls. That kitchen. That bed. That cursed front porch where she kissed me the same week she first slept with him. The money went straight into a new place, small, modern mine. As for Mia, she stayed silent through most of it. Didn't speak at the hearings. Didn't text. Nothing. Then, one morning, she showed up outside my apartment. No warning. Just stood there, holding a box. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. She looked different. Older somehow. Like the last 2 months had chewed her up and spit her out. I brought your things, she said quietly. From the house. I looked down at the box. A few books. A framed photo of me and her when she was little. A watch I thought I'd lost. I figured you might want them. Thanks, I said. Flat. Cautious. She hesitated. Can we talk? Just a minute. I leaned against the doorframe. I've been in therapy, she said. I've been trying to understand why I defended her so hard. Why I didn't see what she was doing to you. To us. I didn't say anything. I think I wanted to believe she was the victim because it made me feel like I wasn't choosing sides. But I was. And I chose wrong. I nodded once. Yeah, you did. She swallowed. I want to earn it back. Not forgiveness, just a chance to be in your life again. Even if it takes years. I looked at her, really looked. Not as the girl who stabbed me in the back, but as the woman standing in front of me, cracked open and raw. I don't hate you, Mia, I said. But you don't get a clean slate just because you regret it. Trust isn't a light switch. It's brick by brick. I'll build it, she said. If you let me. I stepped aside and nodded toward the kitchen. You want coffee? She blinked, eyes wide, like that small gesture meant everything. Yeah, she whispered. I'd like that. We didn't say much after that. Just sat at the table, 2 mugs between us. Old air between us, too. But it wasn't heavy. Not like before. It was the beginning of something. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But something. That night, I stood on my balcony alone, looking out at the city lights, the buzz of life below. I thought about who I was 3 months ago. The man who thought he had a family. A future. A wife who still loved him. He died. And in his place, I was building something else. Slower. Stronger. Wiser. Sarah never got in touch again. Adam disappeared from the radar. Maybe she was with him. Maybe not. Didn't matter. She was someone else's mistake now. Mine was letting her in as deep as I did. But even that, I was learning to let go. Some scars don't fade. They just stop bleeding. And if anyone ever asked me what I learned from it all, I'd tell them this. Sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who cut you the deepest. But sometimes, the only way to heal is to stop bleeding for people who never brought a bandage. The end came quietly. No explosions. No final screams. Just silence. Peaceful, steady, and unfamiliar. I spent the last day of that chapter in my life doing something I hadn't done in years. Nothing. No emails. No meetings. No pretending. I took a walk through the park. Watched a couple in their 60s feed ducks. Watched a kid fall, cry, and then laugh when his mom picked him up. Life kept moving. It didn't wait for heartbreak to finish its work. When I got home, I opened one last box I hadn't unpacked yet. Inside was an old leather journal. I forgot I even kept it. Flipping through, I found entries from years ago, happy entries. Sarah pregnant with Mia. Mia's first word. The day we bought the house. My handwriting was younger then. Hopeful. Naive, maybe. I didn't rip out those pages. I didn't burn them either. Because even though the end was brutal, the beginning was real. What came later didn't erase that. People think betrayal kills love, but that's not true. It kills trust. It kills innocence. But love? Real love? It just changes form. Hardens. Fades. Folds in on itself until all that's left is a scar where something beautiful used to live. But scars don't hurt forever. Eventually, They just remind you of how strong you became when everything fell apart. That night, I closed the journal, locked it away, and poured myself one last drink, not in sorrow, but in goodbye. To Sarah, to the man I used to be, to the family that once was. And then I raised my glass to the future, because I wasn't broken anymore. I was ready to start again, on my own terms.